Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. We have some breaking news for your Sunday morning, and as you can probably tell just by looking at my face and hair, I'm literally just out my bed. Had a couple of shandies last night. So yeah, I am literally just out my bed, and you have all got Robert to thank for there being a breaking news pod, because I received a phone call off of Robert saying, "Are we doing a breaking news?" And I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And yeah, Rangers have appointed Philippe Clement as their new manager. So hello everybody, welcome along. Please get your comments in. Let us know what you think. I'll try and get as many up as I possibly can. And I am, of course, joined by the aforementioned Robert. Robert, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I did not have any shandies last night, so I was up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and alert to the news when it came through. I so just looking forward to having a wee chat about it and seeing what the fans think of it as well. Loads of Thailand in the house this morning, Canada in the house, so it's gone global this morning.
Well, do you know something, Brian? I think Harold's spot on. Bit rid of the club not to think of you having a lie in, Martin. I think that's spot on, Brian.
Absolutely. I mean, this is well, they announced that Beale was getting sacked late Sunday night when it happened, and now they've announced a new manager on a Sunday. I mean, what's this Sunday announcements? It's just not good enough.
It's horrendous, by the way, and look, Scott as well. Look, Martin, you look as rough as fuck. That's how I feel, Scott. I'm not going to lie to you, mate. That is exactly how I feel. Right, okay. Robert, good news. We have a new manager. He's in the door. We did speak about this last week. We took a week off, but we did speak about this last week and saying that, Stephen Davis thrown into the firing line. It just looked far too big for him in the games that he played, although we got a decent result at St Mirren. But we needed this appointment in as soon as possible. But we also needed the board to take enough time to make the right decision.
Listen, I think the board have done their due diligence. There's been no secret that it looks like Muskat and Philippe Clement have been the two front runners probably since the middle of last week. Sort of toed and throwed, whatever sort of media outlet you got your information from, it was one or the other. So I think this morning and maybe early yesterday we got the nod that it might be Philippe Clement, and obviously that's been announced sort of minutes ago. So listen, I don't know much about Philippe Clement, just what you guys have been telling me off camera. But there's pros and cons to all the guys we were sort of linked to, in the sense that we were maybe shopping and that sort of below tier that we maybe thought we were, sort of 10, 20 years ago. So hopefully he comes and his positives come to the forefront and he can get us going again, because there's no doubt that this squad of players need a bit of a shake and a bit of a rock up them. He's got an early opportunity to get his hands on some silverware, which I think will get him some credit in the bank. So listen, all aboard the Clement train and see where it takes us.
I mean, yeah, we'll come to that in a wee second. We'll come to the fact that he could win a cup as early as next month, or is it December, the cup final? December, in it. So, month and a half, he could win a cup, Brian. He has got this group of players to try and do something with. But before we come to all that, it was made very clear by everybody that it was between Clement and Muskat, and the club have decided to go with Clement. Why have they decided that, Brian?
Difficult to say. I mean, Muscat's already in a job, so that was obviously maybe a bit problematic from the club, in the sense that, they didn't want to fork out money for a manager. They obviously like his background, in the sense that he's actually won stuff. He's won the Belgian league, 3 times. And we've always wanted somebody we always want somebody who's a winner. And that's paramount if you're the Rangers manager. So it's great that this guy has a pedigree of winning leagues, not just cups here or there, but actually, multiple leagues. So in that sense, it's a positive for the club. I'll be interested to see who his backroom team is, all the coaches and the technical people. That'll be very key to his workings, I would imagine. So it's all, as Robert says, it's all aboard the Clement train, and we'll see what happens. But I'm quite excited and looking forward to it. And by the way, where is it? Brian, you're perfectly correct. That is the only way to spell Brian.
You're on mute, Martin.
I'm on mute. There you go. That is just factually not true, Brian. There is another way to spell Brian, the correct way.
Incorrect.
So yeah, I mean, Muskat did win things as well, Robert. In the J League, it was one title and I think one cup he won. So Clement has a bit more over him in terms of winning stuff. But apparently, by all accounts, it was close between the two.
Yeah, listen, and I'd like to think it comes down more to that fact you've just mentioned there about the experience and about the winning, other than the fact that Kevin Muskat just wasn't available at this moment, and we might have had to wait a little bit for him. I hope that Clement has stood out in other areas. Listen, again, Kevin Muskat, haven't seen any of his sides play. I've heard that he's Japanese side play an attacking style of football, which I quite like, because I think that's what we all want to see from our team. So I don't know what Philippe Clement's team is going to look like. I'm hoping it's going to be one that gets us off our seats. We've got Clement now. Muskat needs to be forgotten about. And there'll be guys out there when Clement loses his first game shouting, "We should have got Muskat." And I'll probably be one of them, by the way. So, with all seriousness, it's exciting to see how he's going to line up, because he's a guy coming in for the continent. I dare say it'll be a different style of training. It'll be a different kind of culture maybe within the walls at Murray Park, or whatever you want to call it these days. So
don't call it that, Robert. Don't call it that.
It's be interesting to see what kind of comes on the park in terms of a product and a style of play. Will we get a style of play? Because Michael Beale promises that for about 10 months, and we've seen not a jot. So yeah, it's exciting. We've got a new manager in. It's time to sort of move on. And listen, this league's not over. It's only 7 points. That can be clawed back. So he's got a big job on, and as you say, he's a winner. He'll be keen to try and prove himself early doors.
Well, this brings us to our next point then, Brian. In fact, you know what? Well, Clement obviously has done interviews with RTV. I don't think they've been quite released yet, but we've got some snippets. And he said, "I am honoured to have been appointed as the new manager of Rangers Football Club, and I'd like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity. I am hugely excited by this chance to achieve success at one of Europe's most iconic clubs." There was also rumours, Brian, that he had interest from a few other European clubs and Saudi Arabia. So I think it shows intent from Philippe that he wanted to come here. He wanted to be here, because if he didn't, then you take that Saudi money, don't you?
Yeah. He's obviously seen us as a decent project, in the sense that he's obviously watched us in Europe a couple of seasons ago, and he sees a bit of potential there. I think it's Al Shabaab he was getting linked with. I mean, if you go out there, then let's be honest, you're in a hide into nothing. It doesn't matter what you achieve. It's not really going to hold any sort of clout in Europe or
well, but you're set for the rest of your life if you go out there.
Well, you're set for the rest of your life money-wise, absolutely. But he wants to come here, and he's obviously seen the potential that we have, in the sense that he's seen us done well recently in Europe, and he fancies a crack at that as well. And as you say, he's only the 19th manager, so it's a leap of faith for him, but it's also a leap of faith for the board as well. And as everybody's saying in the comments, we've just got to hope that the board have got this spot on and that he's backed. Simple as that, It's going to take him at least, I would say, a couple of windows to get this right. I just don't see it happening overnight. Although sometimes miracles happen, but I'm willing to give this guy a bit of time, because I think for too long we've hounded people out, but it's been justified. I just hope we don't jump on the bandwagon too quick with this guy.
I don't think the supporters can, Robert, can they? I mean, we know what we've got right now. We know the players that we have. We know what they've been shown. We can't expect, and somebody's put it in the comments, and I can't find it. Clement's not got a magic wand that he's going to come in and just magically make everything okay and better. So it's going to be interesting, I think, Robert, to see what his style of play is, if he takes the handbrake off. It's going to be exciting to see what he does.
Absolutely. He's going to have to come in and get a look at the players, so I don't think you're going to see a drastic change early doors, because he's obviously got to try and keep some sort of continuity with the League Cup final coming thick and fast. He's got some sort of familiarity in the squad. Is Raskin's in there? He's a Belgian. Dessers has played in Belgium. I'm sure he's aware of him. So there'll be some players there that he's aware of. Others maybe he's not so aware of, likes of the young players McCausland and Lovelace, who seem to have broken a wee bit over the last couple of weeks. So as you say, it is exciting. We have got to back him. We can't just keep doing. Van Bronckhorst lasted 10 months. Beals lasted 10 months. We've got to give him time. Gerrard was afforded some time, and I know, listen, 1 trophy out of 9, all that reading, but he got us a trophy eventually. And I think more importantly, he brought back some standards to the football club, which were lacking. So there was things done that maybe he doesn't get any real credit for. It's all looking at silverware. So Clement comes in, we back him. I don't think you'll see wholesale changes in January. It'll need to be the summer window. January is a horrible window for most football clubs. So interesting one is what he does with the captain's armband. I know that's popped up in our group chat this morning. Does he continue with Tavernier? Do you strip him of it during the season? Do you give him it to the end of the season? There's loads and loads of questions, but the most important one is how we'll line up next Saturday against Hibs.
The captain question, Brian, is a difficult one. I was hounded for saying about, for me, the only captain at this football club right now is Jack Butland. Right, that's the only person that I can conceivably think of. Excuse me, given the captaincy too. But then there's people jumping down my throat saying the captain's armband isn't that big a thing anymore compared to what it used to be. If you're a captain in the pitch. It doesn't really matter who wears the captain's armband. But it's the optics of who's your captain, I suppose, is quite important as well to supporters.
Yeah, I think there's always been a figurehead as far as you say the captain. We've had the likes.
And let's be honest, Brian, that is not Tav anymore.
No. As I said, we've had John Gregg, we've had Terry Butcher, Richard Gough, Barry Ferguson. We've had all those sort of all those old players that were captains, and we identified them as the standard bearer for the rest of the team. So the manager's going to have a big decision in regards. Does he stick with Tavernier or does he swap? Either. I mean, you've got to remember Suter was captain at Hearts as well, so there's that sort of possibility as well of the Suter being captain as well, along with Butland. I mean, that's the sort of two standouts that I look at right now. It's going to be a huge call. Does that, if he does strip Tav of the captaincy, does that sort of disrupt the sort of the feeling and the camp as well?
That's what CGM's saying. I don't think you can strip Tav of it because it will send half the squad into an absolute meltdown. Yeah. Tav should, however, stand down. Robert, now just finishing up on this because we're here to talk about the new manager, but that is a fair point. You can't just come in and just change everything right away.
No, because you look at what happened with Paul Le Guen. He came in, upset the apple cart, and there was a bit of revolt within the squad, and he didn't last too long in Glasgow. So Philippe Clement, he's got to sort of tread carefully, and I'm sure, you look at his CV, he's experienced enough to go in, and I'm sure he'll know how to handle this squad. But you're looking at sort of the core groups within the squad, your Goldses and Taverniers, who maybe are running the dressing room. They've got to buy into this guy. They've got to buy into him, because if they don't buy into him, nothing changes. So there's a big onus on them as well as the new manager.
And can I just say, folks, I don't really know that much about Clement, right? I'm going to put my hands up and say that probably most of us don't. But where I'm getting my information from, and I'm hoping that somebody in the comments can enlighten us, it says his preferred formation is 4-4-2. Now, I don't know anybody who plays 4-4-2. So I'm hoping that it's maybe a variation around. It's like a 4-3-3 or something.
Mark, can I just add in as well on Friday's phone and see if MD comes on and calls him Clement? They're getting cut off. All right.
I'm trying my best.
That little bit of Belgian accent, Clement.
I'm trying to keep saying Clement, but then it sounds French, doesn't it? But then I suppose actually one thing we should mention, Brian. Obviously, our first Belgian manager. He has been successful in the past. Nico Raskin, Raskan hasn't exactly lit the world alight this season. That's a wee kind of partnership that we might see. That might give Raskin that boost that he needs going forward.
Could do, absolutely. I think as somebody else said in the comments as well, he's coached Dessers as well. So anybody who can get anything remotely out of Dessers would be good in my book, because I just don't see that happening. But as you say, Raskan with the Belgian link, so hopefully there's a that'll bring out the best out of him, because when he started with Campwell in January, the two of them were tremendous. So he's obviously not been great form-wise recently. So let's just hope that wee Belgian link can kickstart him again, because when Raskin's on, when he plays and he's tenacious, he's really, really good.
Can I just say, when you look back at the manager profiles, right, and what you do is you have a wee look at their playing days, see how successful they were as a player. That doesn't really matter in terms of how successful you'll be as a manager, right? But he was a winner as a player with Genk and Club Brugge, right? And he was capped 38 times by Belgium, and he played all the matches at the 1998 World Cup and was part of the Euro 2000 squad, right? I remember watching that.
No recollection of it.
Does that just mean, Robert, that I'm really old? Because am I getting to that point? You shouldn't remember your manager's playing days, should you?
No, you shouldn't. No, we are getting old, absolutely. All the guys that we grew up watching now are current into management. You know, it's happened with Gerrard, obviously, Lampard went into management, even Barry Ferguson was wee for in the low leagues as well. So, but listen, you're spot on. It means not one jot, his playing days. It's great that he's had success in Belgium, a relatively comparable league in terms of standard, in terms of finance as well. So you maybe know how to get his money's worth in terms of bringing players in. Some guys saying there that he actually managed Cyril Dessers. They can't really agree on the club. I don't really know that. So if he has managed Dessers and has managed to get some sort of tune out of him, then that's great news for us, because we need to see something for this guy for the money that we've invested. And as I said before, I don't think you can get a replacement in January. So we're going to have to run with what we've got, kind of thing. So if you can get something out of him, because he just needs a couple of goals to try and win the Rangers fans back. Obviously, Danilo will be coming back in as well, so there should be a bit of healthy competition in the forward areas. Cantwell's to come back in. He's a player that we all love and we all know can play and run Scottish football on his day. You mentioned Rasin, and maybe the 6 months that he showed us before the closed season was phenomenal. However, he's not really hit those levels for one reason or another. At the start of this campaign, so we're just looking to get everybody back on song, really, because see, when we're on song, we're actually a really good football team.
Yeah, we are. Well, okay, let's discuss it then, Brian. Are we a good football team? Do we have the players of the necessary quality to be a good football team and to get our arses back in gear and challenge for this league and win cups and not get beat off of diddy teams in Europe? Do we have the players? Has Clement even got the slightest opportunity to get something out of these guys? Because it's a big job.
I'm loath to say yes, because deep down I really think he's up against it. There's some players in that squad that we've got that just, maybe it was Beale's style. Maybe a change of manager might bring out the necessary skills in these guys, but I'm kind of worried in that sense that he's behind the eight ball here right away. He's got guys totally out of form. He's got guys that are really don't look interested, and that's a worry. This, as somebody said earlier, he's not got a magic wand, but it's almost as though he needs one, because there's some players in this squad that really just aren't good enough. And we've harped on it before. The back line has been needed addressed for a long time. 3 of that 4 are still there from Gerrard days, so it's going to take a mighty effort from him, but you never know.
You never know, Robert, but the Bluebells are blue. I think there is quality in this squad. They just need good management. I'm hoping that is the case, and I'm hoping that obviously Clement's the man to do that.
But listen, it's the only thing we have to hang on to at the minute, because we can't go out and spend loads of money. We can't go out and reinforce the playing squad. That was done in the summer. The board backed the previous manager more so than they have done in previous seasons. So he's not going to have that luxury. He's going to have to try and get a tune out of the guys he's got. They're going to have to buy into his methods. There may be some upset, but like, you keep trying the same thing over and over, so you don't get any different results. So listen, I'm buying into what the Bluebells are blue is saying there, and I'm hoping that he can get these players hitting levels that we know they're capable of. Whether it was just the case that the previous manager had them looking lost at times, not really knowing their roles. Rasin, who we've talked a couple of times about this morning, I kind of thought at times he's looked frustrated with players ahead of them not doing things that he thinks they should be doing. So maybe it is a case of just no clearer messages. And if Clement can bring that, then we'll back him.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just double checking Twitter there, and then Brian sent me a very cheeky private message. Robert, I'll come straight back to you. John Bennett has obviously spoken a wee bit, and he said, "I would like to offer my warm congratulations to Philippe as he becomes our 19th manager," which for me is, considering all the crap that we've been through, I think is absolutely phenomenal that we've only had 19 managers. His appointment comes at the end of a carefully planned and comprehensive recruitment process. Robert, you mentioned it earlier. Every decision has to be right, whether it's manager, player, scout, backroom staff, whatever, at any football club. Of course it has to be right, but there is times in a club's history where you really have to get it right, and this is a time in our history where the board really have to make sure that they've got this right.
Absolutely, because you touch on there as you started off that wonderful statement that we are not a club that sacks managers. Even in the darkest of days, we're not a club that sacks managers. We back our managers, we afford them time. When the going gets tough, we turn up targets and numbers and we get behind them and the team they put on the park. So the last few sort of managerial appointments have been disastrous, for want of a better word. They really have. You'd Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who came in under so much promise, having won an Eredivisie, former player, real, a lot more than Philippe Clement in terms of fans backing that appointment. We want Van Bronckhorst, get him in he comes. Doesn't last too long. And then the Michael Beale one was maybe a bit more split. Some will say now that they never ever wanted him, but this one's just got to be right in terms of keeping him for the length of his contract. He's there for 3.5 years. You get it to the end of the season, and if worst case scenario he doesn't do the things that we initially want him to do, you can't just say, right, he said 7 months, get rid of him. It can't work like that anymore. We've got to try and get some sort of stability in, some sort of continuity, and something that's going to see us build something. Because the thing you keep doing when you keep sacking managers, you keep starting again. You rip them up, starting again, and it's not great. We've been here many times before. We don't want to come back here anytime soon. We want to be celebrating Philippe Clement and his team and lifting trophies, and hopefully that's real soon in December, and make it a nice Christmas for everyone if Rangers have won a trophy.
I don't want to get negative, Brian, right?
No.
But you carry on and I'll come back in with my point.
He's just put on Twitter, Clement, that he's a head coach, not manager.
I think it's basically the same thing.
No, but I think Brian's alluding to the fact that there's a director of football on the offing, aren't you, Brian?
We will come to that. We will come to that in a wee second. We will absolutely come to that in a wee second, Brian. But there's a point that fantastic Mr. Fox channel member has made, and I think it's quite pertinent. Right, the fancy words are starting to come back to me now that I've woke up a wee bit. All this negativity has to stop now. There has been so much negativity around about the football club since basically the start of the season. The fans haven't been happy, rightly so. The players have been booed quite a lot. We haven't really seen much of a performance. But what has to happen now, I think, regardless of how well or not well the manager starts with this group of players, the negativity from supporters, the negativity on social media, the negativity from us, the negativity in the comments, all that has to stop now, and we have to put everything we've got behind the new manager.
Absolutely, totally agree. I was guilty of some negativity as well, because towards the end of Beale's reign, it was patently obvious that this managerial partnership wasn't working, and the frustrations were just building up. It was just a slow. A lot of people wanted him gone early doors, but for me, it was a slow burn. I'm never one to shout for managers straight away, but I eventually, I think I snapped after the Celtic game. I just had enough. I just really couldn't see a way out for him. He was, the Liverpool result, the hammering he got in Europe, that for me was a bad. That should have been it from then, but he survived and survived. At the end of the day, this guy's it's a fresh chapter for everybody. All the players have got a chance now to show this Clement what he's what they're all about, and more importantly, Clement's got to show the fans what he's about, and we've really got to, as you say, throw everything behind Clement. He needs the support, he needs us, and hopefully the football is good that we can support it.
Yeah, hopefully it is. Brian has been a channel member for 10 months. Thank you very much, Brian, who spells his name correctly. He's also put in a super sticker. Thank you very much.
That's the only reason he gave you a $5, because you praised how you spell that name.
Not at all. Not at all. Brian is one of the most, if you had ever went to any of the nights out that we had, Brian is one of the most generous men you will ever meet. Andy was on Britain's Got Talent, so there you go.
What was his talent?
Oh, I'm not going to announce that.
I'm not going into that.
No, absolutely not. My boy Lollipop, absolutely not. So Brian also asked Robert, right, okay, is there going to be a director of football in place now? Now, the question was, just as or just before they sacked Bellamy knew it was coming, should Rangers go out and get a director of football first, get that into place, and then look for a new manager? Everybody that I spoke to said, no, we need to get the manager in and then we can focus on the director of football. So did the board now switch and go straight for a director of football?
Well, listen, if you're putting your sort of Poirot head on like Brian was before, the sort of head coach term would maybe allude you to the fact that a director of football is coming. Listen, I'm old-fashioned. I only think these things matter or get highlighted when you're losing on the park. You know, you've not got a director of football. No, see if you win the park, nobody gives a jot. People just want to keep the momentum going and keep enjoying the success. So, listen, if it happens, I'll support it. If it doesn't happen, I'll not be too bothered. I didn't have any real issue with Michael Beale going out and identifying targets on his own, picking his own players. That's all fine, but they've got to work because it's on the fans and the supporters know it's on your back then. So it'd be the same with Clement. You know, if he's got no director of football, we know that he's identifying the players, and vice versa. If the director of football does come in and he's identifying the players, they've got a buck to pass. So I don't really know. It's the modern day now. Clubs have a director of football, and when they work, it's great, and when they don't, it's not so great. But everyone's sort of shouting for Graham Souness and stuff like that. And I think there was the guy Paul Mitchell. He was touted about as well. He's got a bit of clout. I don't know. I really don't know how that all goes about. I'm just delighted that the manager's in. There was a point made there about, just to get back about negativity. You know, that changes. See, when you start beating Celtic, that soon goes away. You know, so how Gerrard came back in and started going to Celtic Park and winning games of football. There was no negativity then. There was no fear. Van Bronckhorst and Michael Beale couldn't win those games. So then the negativity starts to build and you start to think, well, can they actually turn this around? And, you know, it was proven that they couldn't. So, you know, it's all well and good saying don't be negative, but the team have got to give us something to shout about.
Yeah, and test video. Robert and Brian have had their close-ups. Time for yours, Martin. Nobody wants that. Absolutely nobody wants that. Yeah, so, and I'll come back to that point, by the way, Robert, because that's actually a brilliant point, which is unusual for you, but that's a really good point. Brian, you and channel member, maybe Paul Mitchell, he worked with Clement at Monaco. I had never heard of this guy, right? And then all of a sudden we're linked to Clement and everybody's shouting about Paul Mitchell as a director of football. So I've got no idea who it's going to be, Brian. But we've seen with the mess that was left with Beale that, you know, maybe we do have to move with the times. Maybe a director of football, it's not a case of if, it's a case of like when. We need it now.
Yeah, I think Beale, with him not having a director of football behind him, it was an awful lot for him to do. He was dealing with transfers, he was dealing with training, he was dealing with players, he was dealing with everything. And I think in this day and age, it's very difficult for a manager to, you know, command so much responsibility. It's a hell of a task to do everything like that. I mean, you need to have somebody beside you that you trust and that you're both on the same page. You don't want the director of football signing guys for you. You want the two of you to identify players and the director of football to get them, so to speak. So
I know, but Brian, that's not just what the director of football does. The director of football deals with your scouting department.
Yeah,
deals with a lot of stuff in the background that, as a manager, you probably nowadays, because of the size of football clubs and the amount of scouting that gets done, shouldn't have to deal with. I'm not making excuses for Michael Beale, But
No.
Michael Beale clearly had a lot on his plate that he wasn't equipped to deal with. There's very few managers. Sir Alex Ferguson's probably one of the few that I can think of who can run a club from top to bottom and still put out a phenomenal world-class team. There's not many managers that can do that. And I just think we have to put everything in place that we possibly can to help Philip be as successful as possible. And see if that means he just focuses on the team and the team only. And then obviously when it comes to transfers, he's brought into the discussion, right?
Yes.
This is a budget. This is who we've scouted. Anybody you can think of, blah, blah, blah. But I just want him focusing on the team. I just want a winning team. And see if that's all he does, if he is just a head coach, great.
Absolutely. I totally agree. He's got to be involved in sort of transfer talk and who he wants and everything like that. But as you say, the director of football takes the pressure off the manager and gives him, as you say, full focus on the team. Because let's be honest, the head coach, manager, that's what they're brought in for. They're brought in to coach players, to manage them and produce them, get results on the pitch. So as long as he's got that full focus on that sort of aspect, that'll do for me. But we do need, I would say, a director of football that takes the pressure off, the manager, because as you say, Michael Beale obviously had so much on his plate, as you say, not making excuses, but you can't in this day and age, you can't do everything as a manager now. It's just not mentally possible. I think your brain would be fried within a month if you did it all yourself. So no, I would suggest that Clement obviously have a director of football maybe in mind. I don't know. Club might do, but obviously everybody's got to agree and they've got to get on. So let's just hope that the next appointment is a director of football.
Let's hope so. We've got a week now, Robert, until we play Hibs. So, the gaffer coming in has a bit of time. Obviously, some players are out on international duty. So he obviously won't get a chance to see them all, but he will get a chance to see some. But I suppose that's why Rangers have done it on a Sunday morning, when we all wanted a wee sleep. But yeah, he's got a week now to come in and evaluate the squad. However, a week isn't a long time, and I think we can't go into next week expecting an expansive Rangers performance with everybody playing to their best and winning 6 or 7-0. It's going to take a bit of time.
Listen, there'll be a real furore around Ibrox, and approaching to kick off against Hibs. I'm sure the atmosphere will be brilliant, sort of pre-match. But 15-20 minutes in, see if it's still 0-0, they can't be shouting and screaming and heckling Dessers and all this carry on. Is fantastic, Mr. Fox said. It's time to sort of maybe change the momentum in the stands, and that might help a wee bit, pushing the players forward on the park as well. So listen, a week isn't a long time, but it's probably more than you get, or the most you get in one lump these days with in football, in terms of, Michael Beale was trying to manage players away to Europe, coming back, couple of days, they're resting for one of these days, they've got a recovery day and all this carry on, so you don't really get a lot of time on the training park, it would seem, these days, when you're playing, on all four fronts. So I'm with you. I don't see a drastic change come the weekend. I'd like to see a shape, certainly, by that time, and kick off, see how he's going to line up. And then over the coming week, just bits of progression. That's all you ask for. See if you can get 10, 20 minutes of how he wants to play, then half an hour, then an hour, and start building. That's all you can ask for. He's got a lot on, but I'm sure he's excited to come to the club. If you said he's sort of patched a big money offer in Saudi to come to us, so that tells you a lot about him. He'll be ready for the challenge, and just up to see, he needs to sort of get these results nice and early, so there's no negativity, and he can sort of wipe that off the table.
Well, Mr. X is saying a week is long enough because God created the world in 7 days. Right? I think
Sunday, that brilliant on a Sunday, stay with the Bible.
I think you'll actually find it was 6 days and he had to rest on the 7th. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Clement might turn out to be God. Who knows? Just my point, Brian, is, and we've kind of spoke about it enough. But he's got a week. He's got some time on the training pitch with these players, and it'll be interesting actually because we haven't seen yet, and we'll probably look back at who he had at Monaco and Club Brugge to see who his coaches are, fitness coaches, or the doctor change again, all that sort of stuff. But he's got a week. He's got a week to look at these players and see who he fancies.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see who his backroom team are. Is it going to be all Belgian? Is he going to sprinkle a bit of Scottish in there? We just don't know. This is the exciting part now about the managerial appointment. All the sort of the coaches that are coming in. Everybody's speculating now. Oh, we should get him. But the most important person is the manager and who he feels comfortable with. So, who's to say he won't keep any? It's Steve Davis and all those guys that were there doing the interim job. He might have seen something in them. Highly doubt it, but you just never know. I mean, Steve Davis is still obviously attached to the club because of his injury, so he'll obviously have a little bit of a sort of, he'll be the go-between between him and the players currently, I would say, just to sort of let him know who's who and what's what. So, but yeah, it's an exciting time. All these new coaching changes. But let's just hope that it all works because, as you say, Martin, Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, and I'm not even. There's not even going to be any more God jokes. I know that
we'll just chat a Sunday morning.
No, not on a Sunday. A Sunday, you shouldn't on a Sunday. Robert, good point from Mel here, channel member. He's obviously seen the media around the recent negativity. He will know he's got a job to do to bring us success. Now, we live in this world of social media, right? We do podcasts. We see a lot of comments. We interact with a lot of Rangers supporters. So we know, and we are Rangers supporters, so we know exactly what's going on at the club. We know what we're annoyed at. We know what we would like to see changed. I don't know how much these managers pay attention to social media, or if they've got wee assistants that run about and see everything. How much Clement has seen, how much he knows. But surely he will know how the fans are feeling. Surely he will know why the fans are feeling the way that they are, and he will know everything else in between that he needs to do to change the atmosphere around about Ibrox.
I dare say that conversation was probably part of John Bennett and the board's discussions with Philippe Clement and telling him, things aren't great at the moment, and this isn't the way it's meant to be, this football club, etc. You look in there, talk about assistant managers. Like Tommy Biffle was his assistant at one of his clubs. Whether that would help, somebody coming in alongside that knows the football club. There's always an argument from some sections of the support that they need to have somebody Scottish in there that knows how to go away to Pittodrie and knows how to go to Rugby Park. And I don't know if I buy into all that. I think if you've got a good enough football team, that shouldn't really matter. Add to that, the players have been there many times before anyway, so whether it helps the manager or not, I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But interesting to see who he does bring in as his right-hand man. Will he do a Postecoglou and just keep somebody that's already at the club, or will he bring in his own man? I don't think that's been announced yet. I'm sure that's probably something that he's now working on, is bringing his backroom staff in now that he knows that he's going to be the manager of Rangers Football Club. Yeah,
he used to play for Coventry, by the way.
I saw that in the presser that was released. A wee stint there.
A wee stint the old Coventry. Right. Okay. That'll do us. We have had a wee bit of a chat. We will be back tomorrow at 7:30 for the phone in. Plenty to discuss on the phone in now. I was slightly worried that we wouldn't have much to talk about, but we most certainly will. So I'm hoping that you all join us tomorrow night right here on YouTube at 7:30 for the Rangers Rabble phone in. We are also now live on Twitch, which I know Robert doesn't really know what that is.
I know what that is. Do you, Brian? Do you know what that is? No.
Clearly, Robert and Brian are of the older vintage on the Rabble.
Lewis knows what it is. Lewis is a young team. He knows what it is.
Yeah, Lewis will know exactly what it is. We'll be doing a lot of streaming, hopefully, on Twitch as well. We'll be doing some gameplay throughs. The Rabble's moving into the gameplay through world.
Wow.
So, yeah, we'll be doing that. So, give us a follow on Twitch. Give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We're firing towards that 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube as well, which would be absolutely fantastic. Robert, Brian, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for getting us up with this Sunday morning, Robert.
Yes, thank you very much, Robert. I'm going back to my bed right now. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Your support, as always, is greatly, greatly appreciated. So thank you very, very much. And we'll speak to you all tomorrow night at 7:30. Join us in.